Hey everyone, Pack here, back with another weather forecasting update here on Spark Service channel. And today we're going to be talking about a lot of rain going on in the south central United States, snow in the northeastern United States and parts of the Intermountain West, and a big warm up potentially on the way for much of the country after the incredible Arctic intrusion we've had over the past week. So all of that and more coming right up. So as we bring it to the satellite image here, this is currently showing the cloud cover at night. And just to preface before I go over everything, this video is currently being recorded Tuesday, January 23rd at 11 p.m. Eastern Time. So be sure to follow your local National Weather Service for the latest information pertinent to your location. But as the information that I'm seeing right now is going to be throughout this video at this time. So the current satellite is showing some interesting stuff going on here with the weather. We have an upper level low situated about here in the desert southwest, which is causing a lot of lift out ahead of it. And this cloud cover here, basically, this is cloud cover. The darker colors, the brighter colors here are going to be showing the more deeper convection, and that is the heavier rain underneath these clouds here. And so out ahead of this low, we see some of these really dark colors, and this is indicative of a lot of lift out ahead, and this extends all the way up into the northeastern United States, where there has been some snow recently. Not a big event, but some minor snows. And then we have a new system entering the Pacific Northwest with lots of cold air kind of locked up in Canada as we start to see some more warmer air advection up and from the Gulf of Mexico here with this jet coming in from the southwest. So that's going to be pulling up a lot of warm air with it, and we're going to see a big warm-up coming. But first, let's get into some of this rainfall that's going on here, as this is going to be a pretty significant situation with plenty of locations seeing enormous amounts of rainfall that are not going to be good for flooding issues. So starting it off, the Weather Prediction Center for today, for the 24th of January, so when this video goes up, most likely, this is going to be through tomorrow at 8 a.m. So this will likely be outdated, but currently, as of recording, there is a moderate risk in parts of East Texas, Northwest Louisiana, and Southwest Arkansas. And these areas are going to be expected to see lots and lots of heavy rainfall. In fact, I will show you right now. We currently have an incredible line of heavy downpours here, stretching throughout that moderate risk, and a whole line of these green boxes here are indicate the flash flood warnings that we currently have in effect. And some of these reports here show that we've been having some reported flash floods. So these soils here are getting very saturated already, and they're only going to be getting more rain over the next couple of days. As I quickly put this into play, you could see that this is just moving north as these training bands just go right over each other. And pulling it back, tomorrow's risk, which will be valid from the 24th at 12Z to the 25th at 8 a.m. as well, indicates that basically, I mean, look at this. It's not that far to the east where that moderate risk shifts, and some of the places, especially in the southwestern part of this moderate risk, are almost in both of these risk areas. So at least in the slight risk, anyone in these areas, please do not travel into flooded areas. Make sure to turn around and don't drown. And it's going to be the best thing for you and your vehicle, and stay indoors if you can. So as I turn it over to the day 3, Currently, only a slight risk. This may be changed depending on kind of the forecast coming up, as this is a little bit further out there, so uncertainty lingers. But currently, this slight risk here, stretching from Louisiana all the way through some of the southern Appalachian Mountains, are going to see lots of heavy rainfall continuing, kind of almost still over the same areas, shifted slightly to the east of days 1 and 2 as of recording this video. So really quick, let's jump right into what the guidance is showing. And the first thing I want to look at here on this is the HRRR High Resolution Rapid Refresh model. This is probably one of our best models for short-term guidance. And the current time will be displayed on the screen here. This is 0Z is going to equate to 6 p.m. Central Time. So this is off of the 0Z HRRR. And as you can see right now, the precipitable water amounts, which is basically if you take the entire an entire column of the atmosphere from the surface up to something like 200 millibars. I'm not sure the exact amount. If you take that column and wring out all the moisture, you will rain this much liquid immediately, and it will accumulate this much immediately. Not to say that this is going to fall immediately from the clouds, because that's not how it works, but this is just kind of showing the max potential for how much liquid can fall in any given hour. So higher precipitable water amounts, usually over 1 inch, indicate pretty significant moisture, and certainly 1.5 inches is going to be problematic for flooding concerns. And as I push this forward, you can see these precipitable water amounts working into Texas, up into Arkansas, covering that moderate risk area. And it shifts a little bit to the east. You even see some of these 2-inch amounts with some of the more convective bands. That could be some convective bias, but regardless, very high precipitable water amounts here in Mississippi, especially in southern Louisiana. It's going to cause some big issues for continuous rainfall, as that upper level low that I mentioned earlier, which was over here, kind of slowly meanders in this direction. That lift is going to be concentrated over the same area, and in addition, there's sort of a boundary in kind of this area, kind of a stationary front alongside with that upper level low. So the surface low kind of comes in like that. So this is going to cause some big issues for flooding continuing throughout. This is now tomorrow afternoon, probably when this video is uploaded this afternoon. And as I continue this forward into the nighttime hours, it continues kind of in the same areas, now starting to push really far to the north into parts of the northeast as well. But again, those 1.5 inch amounts are really what you look for, and those continue to percolate here in the southern U.S. And finally, we get a cold front to move through in the Texas area by Thursday morning. That starts to push out, and the moisture kind of shifts east with it. And by the end of this run, this model only goes out 48 hours. Mississippi, Arkansas, much of the places that are in a moderate risk right now should be pretty much done with the rain. But southern Louisiana through really North Carolina is still going to be dealing with some heavy downpours and flash flooding, and that can be very hazardous to travel and sports and whatnot. So keep in mind that when you're going out to make your plans for the late week. So as that upper level low shifts slowly further to the east, That lift, as I said, is going to be concentrated kind of over the same areas here. And then with that precipitable water, intense rainfall rates are going to be able to be achieved throughout the same locations over and over. And as you can see, as I fast forward on the same model run here, going through the morning hours tomorrow on Wednesday, and now into the evening, training bands, especially in some of these orange colors here, that's indicative of very heavy rainfall. And there might be just a slight little break in some of the rainfall on Thursday night, pretty late night here over much of the area, as that kind of like a first impulse shifts up further to the north, and the heaviest rains shift off to the northeast, covering much of Kentucky, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, New York, and New England here, with perhaps just a little bit of ice kind of at the front end in parts of New Hampshire, Maine, and Vermont. So I'd be wary of that up in there for travel. But starting off here, as we move it forward into Thursday night and into the Wednesday night and Thursday morning, the rain kind of percolates again here as a new area of low pressure begins to try to form. You can kind of see it just a little bit here with a little trough in there and some troughing in here. And that is allowing for more rain ahead of it, and kind of the final upper level low that was over here kind of shifts into the central plains. And this is the end of the run here on the HRRR. But if I move over to the GFS, this is going to show further out, lower resolution, but further out. This is basically the American model. I don't know why it keeps doing that. Basically the American model. And as I shift it forward, this is going to be Thursday morning. That area of low pressure forms on it, and then yet another one forms here. This is there might be again a little break, but now soils are going to be saturated, and that kind of a new little shortwave here tries to form another area of low pressure. This one maybe perhaps slightly stronger. And this is going a little further out there towards Saturday, toward the weekend. This is going to be Saturday morning, and lots of rain spreading from Oklahoma all the way through Kentucky. On the northern end of the system, that's going to be the cold conveyor belt. And then more rain down to the south, but I do believe, I just want to double check, the precipitable waters with that second kind of system here, yeah, they're not quite as high, not the 1.5s we've been seeing, almost up to 2 here. So this one shouldn't be as much of an issue for rainfall. However, soils are going to be very saturated at this point, even though we did have some drought down here, so this is good for drought relief, but that drought is kind of coming to an end as we have been seeing some pretty significant rainfall down here. So soils are going to be saturated, and this won't take much for flooding to occur, even with this system, as it slides off to the northeast. And while I'm talking about it, move on to the NAM. So while I'm talking about that, you can see that this system tries to move up into the northeast, and perhaps there is a chance for some snow in parts of Illinois, Indiana, Michigan. The certainty there is a little bit higher than further to the east, where the system moves in a little bit later, as it tries to transfer a low pressure off the coast, which is a pretty typical evolution, but it's going to be hard to predict at this kind of lead time. So we'll have to see where this goes, but there's an attempt for some snow here off of the American model, and I've seen some other models showing kind of the same idea, so it's worth mentioning. In the meantime, the Pacific Northwest, as I push it back a little bit, That system there that I showed on satellite coming in is going to be producing some rain and some mountain snows. The snow elevation is going to be pretty. It's going to start off pretty low and then probably increase significantly through the weekend. Snow level is going to be quite high. It's going to be quite a warm system here. And even much of the lower Cascades are going to be seeing rain at almost the highest elevations. And then that jet kind of moves into Canada. So the Pacific Northwest kind of dries out, and so does basically all of the West here. It's dry and warm as we go into the later period. And to give you an idea of where we're headed in the near term for temperatures, here's the NAM, which is another higher resolution model rather, similar to the high resolution rapid refresh model that we have. This one goes a little further out, and basically the temperatures tomorrow, again further south, obviously you're going to see higher temperatures, but as I push this forward, you're going to start to notice that even in parts of Iowa and Colorado, temperatures could get into 30s and 40s, all the way up into Montana, really, as a ridge starts to build in, and this initial cold front is going to start pushing further to the east, and when that happens, there's going to be kind of a colder surge behind it, but really not all that chilly compared to what we've been seeing. So this is kind of to get the overall idea of the pattern. Now this is the European model. I have it out at 90 hours, and this is showing way up in the atmosphere, about 15,000 feet, the heights, which is basically the height at this pressure level, the height above the surface at this pressure level. So 500 millibars, say, down here is 564 decameters. DAM is for decameters. DAM is decameters. This down here is going to be 564 decameters above the sea level. And that's going to show, this is basically showing the blues are going to be colder air compared to normal, and the reds are going to be warmer air compared to normal in the general column of the entire atmosphere. So, and then these black lines, you could think of the flow here, the winds kind of following these black contours. So, for example, the winds here over the northeast are going to be coming out of the southwest, and that is going to be pulling in probably some warmer air from down here up into this region, which is why it will probably rain, as we saw earlier, in just a short time, in a couple of days. So the European model, this is going to be out on Saturday, moving into Sunday, shows that little system, that upper level low that was over the desert southwest. After a whole 5 days, it finally moves across into the Ohio River Valley, and it's kind of a cutoff system, so it's going to move very slowly, and all of these warm temperatures start to build in, higher heights in this region. It's going to be indicative of a very strong ridge pattern, and troughing over Alaska, over here, and over Greenland. This is a very warm-esque pattern for the U.S., and getting later into the season, pretty atypical for El Nino. But as I move this forward, things might start to change. Notice that we are a little bit warmer in this area compared to average. However, there is flow still coming down from Canada in parts of the southeast and northeast, really the east coast, all along the east coast. So I'm hesitant to say that it's going to get very warm in the east coast. However, throughout, again, that Pacific Northwest, snow levels are going to be high, and much of the central United States, it's going to be very warm compared to average. And now, this is all compared to average, so I'm not saying temperatures, like 70s up in North Dakota or anything, but I don't know why I drew an L. But compared to average, 40s up here is going to be pretty impressively warm for this time of year. Now, there still are a couple of systems sliding underneath this ridge that may slide to the east. With time, as I push this forward on the European, we do see this one little low here. And then finally, this ridge starts to kind of pinch off as the trough in Alaska kind of starts to really intensify here. And get some storms maybe coming into California, I would expect, based on this model anyway. As I'm starting to get a little further out, things are going to start changing, uncertainty increases. This is going to be for Thursday, February 1st. Rainfall chances out west are probably going to go up, while the east coast is going to see some drier conditions, and still much of the country is going to be pretty warm on average. Though the west coast might start to cool off and get a little wetter by this time. I do remember seeing some of the Climate Prediction Center, which I can pull up really quickly. Yeah, the 8 to 14 day outlook, very much above average precipitation here, with below average precipitation in the Northeast and above average temperatures throughout much of the U.S., but particularly in the particularly in the north central United States. The 6 to 10 day is warm everywhere, but once again, by this time, by about the start of February, precipitation is going to vastly increase up in over in the West Coast. So keep that in mind. And especially with above average temperatures, there might be some snowmelt issues as well. So that could cause some flooding issues in the long term. Currently I am actually, there is some rain falling outside and it's a little bit loud. So I apologize for any background noise that may cause. But moving on here to the, I'm going to really quickly show those actual temperatures. I was kind of showing where the general temperatures were going before. Now showing those actual temperatures, you see just how warm it starts to really get. We can get some 50s up into Kansas and Nebraska, all the way into Montana. And the east remains on the cooler side for the moment. We get kind of some cold air damming. But those 60s make their way up into Kansas pretty much. And much of Canada is going to be quite warm as well. So lake effect snows are going to be turned off, and the whole country is going to see a big relief from the huge Arctic blast we just went through. So that'll be pretty good news for most people out there who don't like the cold. And so now I'm kind of pushing the GFS much forward than it needs to be, as this is kind of the fantasy range. It's not going to be very accurate here. Lastly, I want to go over a really quick long-term pattern thing here. So this is the 18Z GEFS, which is basically the American ensembles, and basically this gives you an idea, using that same map I showed before. It gives you an idea how different, basically they take the initial model and they change some of the conditions in the beginning of the initialization, and then rerun the model with the GFS, I believe 30 different times. They rerun the model and take a mean of all the potential different solutions based on this model. Now, this does not cover every single solution by any means. However, it provides, I think, a pretty good look at where the longer term patterns are most likely to go, because the regular operational model, tends to get a little bit extreme in the long term, and this kind of eliminates that bias. So as I push it forward, we could see that increase in storminess out west as we saw on the European. Um, and the warmth in much of the country, particularly the north central United States into the eastern United States, as that Canadian ridge really percolates here. And what I am starting to notice is we are getting kind of a Pacific jet. There is a Pacific jet extension, and eventually that I do believe is going to retract, and this kind of area of cooler temperatures and stormier weather is going to probably slide underneath this ridge, and this ridge is likely to migrate into the poles. That is the way most of the models are going. And so as I push this forward, this is kind of going into the very late period. This is into the first week of February. You could see that ridge still present in Canada, but kind of a new ridge is building here in Alaska, and that's going to try to bring down some cooler air. So we'll have to see where this goes. This is going to be prone to change, but for now, that's going to about do it for this episode here. So for now, that is going to about do it for this episode. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and please take the necessary precautions for the flooding that's going to be coming up. And like and subscribe if you did enjoy, and if you learned anything, also share, turn on notifications. Really like to see our streams gain a little more traction, as we want to provide the best information that we can, and provide it for the most amount of people that we can, as we're going to have on the ground chasers whenever events are going to be particularly extreme. So with that said, have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next video.